As you know, I've shared my concerns about how we've handled schools throughout this pandemic. Some parents, journalists, unionists and politicians agitated from very early on to have schools shut down. Journalists have actually referred to schools as human petri dishes. The states were wobbly on this right from the start. Victoria brought forward school holidays, and in the other states, while schools remain open, students are actively discouraged from attending, and more than 90% in New South Wales are staying away, as their Education Minister told us yesterday.
We're comfortable with where we are in New South Wales. I think this is in line with community sentiment, and my main focus is making sure that education can continue for children who are learning at home. That's what we are focused on now, supporting our school communities to do that.
Now, this is all very hard to comprehend, given the top-level medical advice from the Chief Medical Officer, his deputy and others has been that keeping schools open is best. Kids are not badly affected by this virus. There have been no bad school outbreaks of kids infecting teachers or vice versa. Those school infections we have seen have been quickly managed and contained. And keeping schools open helps parents do their work, it gives kids the best education and enables them to be supervised and coached on hygiene and social distancing. It makes sense. And that remains the federal government's advice.
What we have always said, and the health advice has been very clear and it has not changed. There is no health risk to children going to school or going to childcare.
So why aren't our kids at school? It's very strange, especially when today we've had $1.6 billion to keep childcare centres open and get people to send their kids to childcare centres. Why are we so keen to deny our kids their best education? Why are teacher unions so keen to keep students away? And why don't state governments stand up to them? I think parents in these circumstances do deserve to have a choice, of course, but I think they've been pushed in one direction. If an outbreak occurred or the medical advice changed, we could close them in an instant. We've got our schools all well prepared for that now. But I fear that widespread disruption to schooling is going to be one of the unnecessary side effects of this pandemic response. Just on that and other issues, I'm joined now by adolescent psychologist Michael Carr-Gregg, who joins us from via Skype from Melbourne. Thanks for talking to us, Michael, again. Do you understand why we don't have kids in school, why so many parents are heeding this advice to keep them away?
Oh, look, I'm quite confused myself. Personally, I'll go with the advice of the Chief Medical Officer every time, but psychologically speaking, it's imperative for their developmental tasks that they are with their friends, that they do acquire the skills for future economic independence, and that they also emancipate from their parents. So there's a very sound psychological argument in terms of developmental tasks for keeping them at school.
Yeah, we know it's the best place for them educationally. Now, of course, and we know that kids are not affected badly by this virus, even if they do happen to get it. Now, the obvious concern for teachers would be perhaps the disease spreading and them picking up infections. So I would have thought extra distancing, perhaps even different duties, especially for older teachers, the more vulnerable teachers, would be wise. But shutting down schools seems, or even from the Chief Medical Officer's advice, is an overreaction.
Yeah, goodness, you're exhibiting some flexibility there and some agility. I think that's what's needed now. I'm feeling particularly sad for the final year students by virtue of the fact that they have complete uncertainty about what's going to happen for their university entrance examinations. I think this is very unfair. We need to give them some clarity. This is a population of young people who are uniquely prepared, of course, to do their exams online. So if that's what has to happen, fine, but tell them.
Yeah, and at least they have the knowledge that everybody is in a similar boat. So it's going to be a disrupted year for everyone. But it's an incredible additional stress on those people late in their schooling. I have a couple of boys early in their primary years. I would have thought that it's going to be less disruptive for the younger children.
Yeah, what I'm actually finding is at the moment, touch wood, the younger children are just seeing this as an extended holiday, and it's great fun because in some cases mum and dad are around, whereas normally they wouldn't be. Whether or not that's the case in 2 months' time, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But so far, so good.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. I appreciate it. We'll catch up with you again on this because there's a lot to unfold. We don't know what's going to happen next term, for instance.
Thanks, Chris.